Hey yo, what's up YouTube? This is IFM with the second battle of the week between Kevin Garrett and Rewer. Now this is a Diamond Pearl Platinum match, and I'm actually going to be doing this commentary, seeing the battle for the first time just like you, and hopefully we can get a little bit of a different spin on this thing and make it a bit more interesting for the viewer. So to start this off, as you can see, Rewer comes out with the Roserade and Kevin Garrett with the Gliscor. Now here I'm expecting that Kevin Garrett, if he's fast, he's going to go for a taunt, but no, he's going to switch out here, and that's going to give Rewer a chance to most likely go for a Sleep Talk on the Zapdos that just came out. Wow, this is really slow. Yeah, he goes for the Sleep Talk right here, and unfortunately enough for Rewer, it misses. Now, most likely because Kevin Garrett switched his Zapdos into Roserade right here. He's probably running some sort of Sleep Talk set, hoping to absorb the sleep from the Roserade. And as you can see on the second turn, Roserade got the sleep, and Kevin Garrett didn't use Sleep Talk that turn, so we're not really sure about it right now. But Rewer switches to Heatran right here against the Zapdos, and Kevin Garrett does a double switch to Skarmory. Now that's a great play there by Rewer, going to the Heatran as Kevin Garrett switches to Skarmory, because it allows Rewer to force the Skarmory out and get a free turn to set up Stealth Rocks right here. But Kevin Garrett obviously notices that and goes to his Starmie. Now Starmie is a Pokemon that normally is used to spin, and he's going to do that, I assume, right here. Let's see if he does. On the Roserade that Rewer just switched in to counter the Starmie. Now Kevin Garrett, they've already done the sleep clause, so Rewer isn't able to make another Pokemon go to sleep, so he's just going to try for a double switch and try to get Kevin Garrett switching out, knowing that Starmie really loses to the Roserade out there, and it ends up being a Jirachi versus Skarmory matchup. Great play there by Rewer, getting the double switch to a Jirachi, and then being able to give Kevin Garrett some kind of sense of calm and get the Thunderbolt off and get some critical damage in on Skarmory right there as Kevin Garrett goes for the spikes. So after that turn, you've already got Skarmory down below 50%, and you have spikes up on Rewer's side. Now, Kevin Garrett, realizing that he went for a Thunderbolt last time, is going to switch to Gliscor right here to absorb it, because obviously he has the immunity. But Rewer makes a great play there. Ice Punch. Notice predicts the Gliscor switch in, gets the critical hit, and takes the Gliscor down. And that's a quick one Pokemon lead to Rewer out there. And now Tyranitar comes in to wall the Jirachi, because now Kevin Garrett realizes that it's some sort of either leftovers or expert belt variant. And Tyranitar is very much able to wall most of those attacks, depending on what kind of set he is. Now, Rewer makes an interesting switch here, honestly. He goes to a Gyarados on the Tyranitar. He gets the Intimidate off, but fortunately not for him, Kevin Garrett goes for the Earthquake. Another great prediction there by Rewer, able to keep the momentum up, and he's banking on the fact that Tyranitar here is choice locked, as it most likely would have been going for that Earthquake, and obviously it switches out, meaning that it most likely is. Now, the Gyarados is in there as Kevin Garrett switches to a Suicune, because obviously Suicunes can take pretty much anything the Gyarados can throw at them. And especially because I think Kevin Garrett's running a sort of his stall team, and that Suicune's probably going to be some sort of bulky variant. And Rewer right here just going to switch to his Heatran, probably expecting some sort of double switch, knowing that Kevin Garrett knew that he had him walled. But no, that's not what's going to happen. Suicune forces the Heatran out, and Suicune gets a roar here off on Starmie as Kevin Garrett predicts it, coming in to attempt the Rapid Spin. And fortunately enough for him, Heatran comes right back out, and he's going to most likely be able to continue that cycle right here with the Suicune on the Heatran. And let's just wait for it. Now, right as I predicted, Rewer sends out Gyarados. Gyarados obviously in that situation, because Kevin Garrett has one layer of spikes up on Rewer's side. So by going to Gyarados, he can prevent the spikes from having much damage to his team. And Kevin Garrett does an over prediction there, actually. Expects that Rewer's going to stay in or switch to something weak to Surf, and goes for the Surf there, but Fortunately enough for Rewer, he made that prediction, got Gyarados in on the Surf, and it's back to even matchup right here as Kevin Garrett goes and hit to his Zapdos to wall Gyarados. Now, since Rewer stayed in here, I'm waiting for the switch, but yeah, he's able to get a taunt off, and because Suicune really can't do much to Gyarados outside of an HP Electric, which most likely he doesn't have because it's looking like he's a Roar Calm mindset with that Suicune, Gyarados can pretty much wall that Suicune all day. And the taunt there was meant for the Suicune, but it also prevents Kevin Garrett from being able to use Sleep Talk if he had it on the Zapdos. So he's just going to leave Zapdos in, get an extra turn of sleep, and Rewer's going to reveal his last Pokemon, which is a Flygon here. And he's going to try to get some momentum going with the Flygon in on the Zapdos. He has a couple options. He can U-turn, or if he's a mixed set, he could go for something like Draco Meteor. But right here, he's just going to stay simple and go for the Outrage, which even though Skarmory resists, it still does a healthy 27% damage, considering that because of that roll and it's going to be a 2-hit KO on the Skarmory because of that earlier Thunderbolt hit that was extremely crucial for the match. Now Kevin Garrett goes back to Suicune. As we've already said, it's probably a defensive set, so he's going to be able to take an Outrage pretty much no problem right here because that Flygon is looking like it's most likely a Choice Scarf version. So fit 46%. Going to take him down to 54, which is almost within KO range considering the Sandstorm damage, but most likely he's going to stay out of that. Yep, 45%. So Kevin Garrett's most likely going to rest here and get back up to full health. And now Flygon and Rewer are stuck in a pretty tough position considering that Flygon's now going to be confused, and Suicune is able to start using Sleep Talks if it has it, and start shuffling Rewer's team with Roar, hitting them with Surf. So I'm expecting a switch to Gyarados here, but instead he goes to Starmie. Now, the trick of this move, he's hoping that Kevin Garrett isn't really able to roll the Roar with Sweet Talk, or he stays in to try to get a turn of sleep taken off. So this gives Rewer a chance to get a free spin off, or if Kevin Garrett he predicts a Rotom switch in, he's able to fire off something like a Surf or a Hydro Pump to hit that Rotom coming in and make sure that it can't really do much damage to the team. So Kevin Garrett switches to his Tyranitar here, a great move, all things considering, because it's most likely to be able to allow him to trap the Starmie after it gets his Rapid Spin off, and allow only one Rapid Spin from Rewer, allowing all subsequent hazards to really stay up on Rewer's side of the field. So this Rapid Spin gets off, and I'm looking for a Tyranitar Pursuit right here. Let's wait to see if it happens. Yep, Tyranitar. It's a Choice Scarf Tar, we now find out, because it outspeeds that Starmie. And Starmie's just going to stay in here because he's really expecting something like the Choice Scarf or Choice Band Tyranitar Pursuit. So no point sacrificing Starmie without getting at least one hit off, but unfortunately, Hydro Pump misses. It's always trolling with that 80 accuracy. And now Tyranitar stays in on Starmie. One more pursuit, and that's gone, and the score is leveled at 5-5. And Rewer has lost his spinner, which is very important because now Kevin Garrett can freely set up the hazards and really start to shuffle Rewer's team around without very much problems at all. So Jirachi comes in because he knows that it's a Choice Scarf Tyranitar locked into Pursuit. So it allows him to start using his Expert Belt Jirachi to maximum effect and start getting at least a couple moves into Kevin Garrett's team and hopefully start getting some damage on some things. So Zapdos in 17%. Now we see that 17% most likely means that Kevin Garrett's running some sort of special defensive Zapdos, and I believe it has only one turn of sleep left, so it's probably something like Rue Substitute Toxic and something like Thunderbolt. So Kevin Garrett actually makes a great play here, switches Skarmory in on Jirachi because he's expecting that Rewer's going to switch out because he knows that Zapdos pretty much walls that Jirachi, but instead Ice Punch on Skarmory, 13%, and now Skarmory's in a ton of trouble because he can't really switch in much more at all, and basically the entirety of Rewer's team outspeeds the Skarmory. So even though Rewer lost his spinner, Kevin Garrett really doesn't have the ability to set up much more stat hazards, especially the spikes that you already saw be spun away. So Zapdos comes back in on Jirachi, another 17%, and that's eventually those 17% are going to add up. So Kevin Garrett really needs to make sure that Zapdos gets out of the sleep soon, but he decides to wait a couple turns on that and goes to Tyranitar on the Jirachi right here, taking the Ice Punch. Critical hit though, but it still is only able to do 38%. This Jirachi is very effective, but it doesn't hit that hard. And now Kevin Garrett gets a free turn to fire off some kind of move into Rewer's team. Now he goes for the Stone Edge here, hoping to try to hit something like the Gyarados on the switch-in, but Rewer reads that switch and goes to the Flygon to absorb it. And now Kevin Garrett's forced to go to Skarmory right here, just sacrifice it to try to hit something. And Rewer, instead of going for a U-turn, which is pretty interesting actually, he just goes to Jirachi. And now Skarmory is back up to 23% health, but it still isn't going to be surviving a Thunderbolt anytime soon. And Jirachi just goes for the Fire Punch to finish it off. So that's 3/4 of Jirachi's moveset that we now know. We know it as Thunderbolt, we know it as Ice Punch and Fire Punch, and probably Iron Head as the last move. So that Tyranitar really has to watch out with all these switch-ins to Jirachi, because Jirachi might be able to survive the Earthquake and hit it with Iron Head. But Rewer's not going to take that risk. Goes to Gyarados here. Last time he went to Flygon. So Kevin Garrett's probably expecting something like the Flygon to come back in again to absorb another Stone Edge. So Rewer banks on that and goes to Gyarados and absorbs the Crunch, the Intimidated Crunch, 22%. And right now Rewer's really just predicting complete circles around Kevin Garrett. So we got Tyranitar, we got Gyarados. Kevin Garrett switches Tyranitar out for Suicune because Suicune is really his best answer left on his team to Gyarados. And Gyarados really can't really do much to Suicune. I guess it can taunt, but it ends up being a Thunder Wave taunt variant, which is pretty unusual in the metagame. But just because it's unusual doesn't mean it's good. It's a very effective set because most people don't expect the Thunder Wave, just like I didn't expect it there. And Suicune's pretty much able to wall Gyarados now that he knows that it's probably not a Dragon Dance set. So it's really a stalemate here, though the taunt will allow Gyarados to really run through the Suicune PPs pretty fast of the Surf. So I think Gyarados wins this battle in the long run. As you can see, Suicune takes his second turn of sleep, so that means he's going to wake up in the next turn, and Gyarados uses Taunt, so Suicune's really forced to just use Surf or find another method of removing that Gyarados. So he goes to Zapdos right here. Zapdos on Gyarados. And Zapdos, I think he wakes up in one turn as well. So right now, Rewer makes that prediction, though, that he's going to try to get Zapdos in and get another turn of sleep worn off. And he goes to Flygon to force it out and force Rewer to keep Kevin Garrett to keep shuffling his Pokemon along. Now, only if Rewer had been able to get those Stealth Rocks up, this game could be pretty much over. But he wasn't, and the Outrage takes down the Zapdos right there. Kevin Garrett didn't really have much at all he could switch in because he's left now with these Scarf Tyranitar, his Starmie, and his Suicune, and none of them are really able to do much to that Flygon. So Flygon, he's expecting that, but it's an Ice Beam from the Starmie. I'm thinking that was a choice band Flygon now that I think about it, considering how much it did to Skarmory, and Starmie takes him out. Big play there for Kevin Garrett, and he's able to really get this match at least a little bit back under control. Now, unfortunately enough for him, though, now you got Roserade in, and Roserade, because Zapdos died, he can use his Sleep Talk once again, but he doesn't even bother with that. It ends up being a Scarf Roserade Leaf Storm to the face for Starmie, and this looks like it pretty much is good game out there for Kevin Garrett because he's left with two Pokemon both weak to that Roserade. You got Suicune, who's asleep right now, though he does wake up next turn, so he's only going to have one turn to get a Calm Mind off before Rewer's able to get Gyarados in, taunt Thunder Wave, and not much Kevin Garrett can do to that, obviously. Switches to Gyarados right here. So Kevin Garrett's most likely going to go for the Calm Mind, considering Roar isn't really going to do anything for it because he doesn't have any hazards up that he can shuffle him around into. So yep, Calm Mind, Gyarados 65, Suicune 100%. Now, Kevin Garrett really has to start hoping that he can get some critical hits with these Surfs, or else he's not going to be breaking through this Sea Dragon anytime soon. So this turn, I'm fully expecting a taunt, but Suicune ends up outspeeding Gyarados, so he's able to get a second Calm Mind up, which is very important right there. And Gyarados goes for the taunt. Now, first Surf from Suicune did 17%. That means that a +2 Surf is going to do about 34%. So it's fully possible for him to break through right here, as long as he gets a couple good rolls and things go his way. So Suicune uses Surf. Actually, it only does 23%. Excuse me on that. I must have miscalculated. And now Gyarados gets to go for the Thunder Wave. Now, Suicune's paralyzed. Obviously, it's going to be a lot slower now. So Gyarados isn't going to have any trouble renewing the taunt. And Kevin Garrett really has to be careful with those Surf PPs because they're going to run out quite quickly, considering that he really isn't able to choose anything else for his move. So Stone Edge right here. The attack misses though. Even though that wouldn't have done a whole lot to Suicune, it still would have been important because right now Suicune is unable to recover off any of the damage. Now another Surf, 24%, and most likely because we've seen Taunt, Stone Edge, Thunder Wave. He's probably got Waterfall as his last move, which means no rest for Gyarados, which is very important because right now he is forced to just go for a Taunt and not able to get another attack in on Suicune. And now Kevin Garrett can go for another Surf and finish the bad boy off. So yep, Surf, 18%, and Kevin Garrett's on a roll right here with a +2 special attack, +2 speed, paralyzed Suicune, which means that Rewer isn't really able to get a sleep powder off on it because it's paralyzed. It can't be statused again. And now he just has to send a Heatran. I'm expecting an explosion right here because that's really the only reason you would send it in. Yep, goes for the explosion. 60% damage. Suicune's gonna... And now that Stone Edge miss is important because it probably would have stuck him within the Roserade Leaf Storm KO range without the explosion. Goes for the Surf, misses. And obviously he couldn't rest on that obvious explosion because he's been taunted. So now we're sitting with a 40% Suicune, and Roserade's in on it with an 85%. Now most likely here, Roserade can survive at least one Surf, but he goes for the super effective Leaf Storm, 39%, and Suicune goes down. So right now, it's just Scarf, Tyranitar versus Roserade and Jirachi. Now, the only move he can do here and hope for a win is the Earthquake. So Rewer's most likely going to switch out to Jirachi, sacrifice it to the Earthquake, and hope that Leaf Storm hits here. It's all going to come down to Leaf Storm at the end of this battle. Goes for the Earthquake, 22% as Jirachi switches in. One more Earthquake's just going to finish it off. Now actually, if he had had Iron Head there, it might have actually been a better idea just to sacrifice the Roserade to the Earthquake and just get Jirachi and Iron Head. Good game because it didn't end up one-hit KOing, but now he has to come down to the Roserade Leaf Storm versus Tyranitar. If it hits, Rewer wins. If it misses, Kevin Garrett wins. Wait for it. And the Leaf Storm misses. It missed. That's 10%, and it cost Rewer the game right here. And now Kevin Garrett goes for the Earthquake. Good game. Rewer loses the match, excuse me. Kevin Garrett able to get the victory and able to get me 2 points in Battle of the Week. Don't mind that though. Good game out there, but the last turn of Haxit really turned it around. Rewer played well, but he just wasn't able to finish it off, and obviously Hex Gods weren't on his side. So what a miss. What a miss. This is IFM out.